It's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a new video. Now in this one we're going to be going over momentum, and it's obviously under the Confluence section. So these are just the things that we look for when it comes to looking at trade opportunities. So for example, when we come to measure momentum, all that we do is we use this tool here. So if you come down here, you click on this one and then you look for the date range. Okay, I have mine to my favorites bar, and all that you're doing is you're measuring where the equal highs and lows are. So for example, in this case, as you can see, I've measured this low to this high and it took 12 bars, right, for the bulls to push price up. And then from this high to this low, so the same point in price, it took 9 bars. Okay, so what does this tell us? This tells us that the much more bears in the market than there is bulls, right? So this tells us that, okay, momentum is to the downside. So how does this benefit us? Well, if we're looking for sales because the overall market structure is bearish, and we're just in a nice distribution phase, a high probability setup, right? And we'll come to measure momentum, and momentum is also bearish. So this is just extra, confirmation in order to jump into a trade. And once you start adding these confirmations up and all that sort of good stuff, it will all start to it'll just help you which trades to take and which trades not to take. Because if everything else is good and I come to measure momentum and momentum's not there, then I won't take the trade. Everything needs to be matching, and that's how disciplined I personally am, and that's how disciplined you've got to stay. So this is more of a real life example. This is obviously just showing you a way to measure it, and you will see this. So for example, price came here, this low, you can measure it from this high to this high to this. So you can just measure it in terms of like an equal low, equal high, right? But you can measure it like this as well. So for example, price came down, create a pivot point, right? Pivoted from this certain area, and then price came back up, right? If we were looking to sell from here, right, we need to measure the momentum. So in this case, it took 18 bars for price to push up, and it only took 4 bars for price to reach down. So this tells us that there's much more bearish momentum, right? So if we look here, we can see it's pretty similar to this one. Price is doing its own thing, ranging whatever. Price comes down, creates an order block on which price is looking to mitigate from. So what we're doing is we're going to measure because obviously if we're going to take this trade, we're going to measure from the the peak in price. So from here, this candle and this candle, we're going to measure right on this low. So as you can see, it took 14 bars to reach the upside and 11 bars to reach the downside. So this tells us that there's a lot more bearish momentum because it took less time for price to be pushed down than it did up to the upside. Okay, so when it comes to momentum, all it means is just the strength of an upward or a downward move, right? So just looking at the strength of a certain thing. Okay, so there's so many different ways to just measure it. Sometimes you'll be able to just look at it and think, okay, yeah, there's much more momentum in terms of candles. So let's just find an example. So for example, if we look at this move here, right, this 2 candle move, and compare it to this low here to this high, we can see it only took 3 bars to reach the downside, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars to reach the downside. Okay, so when you just look at it, there's a lot more bearish momentum than there is bullish momentum. So price is going to continue to sell off. Okay, and it's good to measure it because sometimes when you are if you're counter trend trading within substructure, or you're just genuinely catching a reversal, right, you're trying to predict a reversal. If you look at momentum, it can usually give us a good sign that the momentum is obviously potentially decreasing. So for example, if we're in bearish structure, right, and you start to see a shift in momentum to the upside, so the bulls seem to be in more control, then that tells us that price is going to potentially pull to the upside. So if we measure from this high all the way down to the wick low, change that to red, and then from there, the same point, we'll do that to the same point, we can do this candle. Alright, so from this candle to this point and this candle. Okay, as you can see, it took 6 bars to reach the upside, and it took 11 bars to reach the downside. So this tells us that the bulls are in control. So if we're going to take a sell position from here, right, based off this order block, because this is valid, order block, breaker structure, if we're going to take a trade and we didn't factor in any of these confluences with our stops above there, it's going to be a much more riskier trade. If you're targeting here, then it probably would have been alright for a nice one, potentially 2%. But if we're targeting the lows with the overall trend, it's going to be a much harder trade, right? And this is currently 22nd of July, 10 o'clock in the morning. So if you want to come back and watch this, look at this and see what happened, I obviously won't know. But if we were to sell from here, there's a less chance that it will obviously sell from here than it will selling from somewhere else with, you know, bearish momentum. Because personally, I wouldn't take this trade just because of the momentum. So that would obviously, I'd not take the trade. Now, you may be thinking, oh, well, why wouldn't you take the trade? You know, it's a nice setup. And the truth is, opportunities present itself literally every single day. You know, you can find an opportunity on any time frame. Every single day, there's going to be something. Obviously, we narrow it down to a few pairs only. But, you know, there's going to be opportunities every day, right? So we don't need to look for, you know, that trade. If it's not in my plan or rules to follow when it comes to accumulating a trade idea, then I'm not going to take it simply, you know? But yeah, so it's pretty much, we all know what momentum is. It's just the strength of a trend, you know, so whether the price is moving down, we're just measuring the strength of it, right? You can measure just candles. You know, you can compare candles as well. So if you compare, like, for example, this bullish candle to this bullish candle, you can measure which one's bigger and just stuff like that. There's so many ways to measure momentum, but the way I like to do it is, if I'm entering a trade, if I'm looking to catch the pullback, the reversal, right, from here, let's say from this order block, then I will take this trade, right, but I'd have to measure momentum. So again, there's not too much, you know, to it. It's very simple, so that's why the video isn't that long. It's about 7 minutes long, and honestly, there is literally not much to it. It's just you're using a tool on here, right, where is it now? The date range. Right, and you're just dragging a certain point in price. So yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. For example, as well, you can even measure the littlest part. So from, you know, this low and this candle here, right, to that high that took 1 bar. You can just look at this and see 2 bars, can't you really? We'll class it as 2 bars, and then obviously to the downside. So this low, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can tell there's a lot more bullish momentum within this certain move. Right, but yeah, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to end the video here, and I'll catch you on the next one when we talk about the Fibonacci tool. It's a very important one, premium and discount zone. So yeah, hope you're getting value in this one, and I'll catch you on the next one, guys.